It's Friday, and he is Jalen Rose.
What up, dog?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
Together we're Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
Give the people what they want.
The people wanted do-rag Jalen, and the people got do-rag Jalen. Not just any old do-rag, a silk-adorned do-rag. It was gifted to him by Bow Wow. Jalen, those of the listeners and viewers that follow the show know that oftentimes you predict things before they happen, a little bit of Rostradamus. So it's not news. It's not breaking news to J&J supporters. It is broken news. The latest is this, that teams are all together unified in supporting the delaying of the NBA draft. They're looking at August now. How would the movement of the draft affect the prospects and the teams themselves?
So when you move the draft to August, you're basically saying that you hope the season has ended and the playoffs have ended by then, because the draft happens a week or so after the NBA Finals. So that's an indirect projection. What I would say is I acknowledge that this was going to happen 3-2-1 because I feel like this is a chance for the NBA to reset its clock, Jacoby, in a lot of ways.
Yep.
As a diehard NBA fan and supporter and player and somebody that now covers the league, I never felt the draft should come before free agency. I never felt that you should be able to buy out players after the trade deadline. This is not what's best for the players, but this last one is best for the brand. And I never thought that the season should end in June and start in October. So these are things that the league has a chance to actually reset right now. And another thing that you're going to hear is a modification to what's going to happen to next year. It's a domino effect. If this season doesn't end until September, then obviously you're not going to start this season in October. You're going to start it in November or December. So there are going to be a lot of breaking news things about changes to all major sports and their schedules.
Do you think that they will over time course correct the schedule back to where it was traditionally? Or do you think that sort of one of the byproducts of this horrible pandemic is that the NBA season will sort of reset its clock and be later in the year?
I hope the first thing that you said happens is that there's a consideration to reset the clock. Now, if you're a player, of course, when the kids get out of school in June and that's when the finals happen, you'll love to spend the summer with your family. But for a business, you want, when the kids are out of school, for them to be coming to NBA basketball games and for them to be buying jerseys and falling in love with the game. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And another thing that happened that I was making sure that I paid attention to is that the players are going to get their full salaries on April 15th. And why is that major? Because if you don't pay the players their salary, guess what they're not going to want to do? Finish the season. So it was important for the NBA to understand that even if they don't get the opportunity to finish the season, that cut nose to spite face would have been taking place had you not paid the players their full salary this month. Well,
that's interesting. And Jalen, another thing I wanted to bring up is Dana White and UFC. They had been very, 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 very clear that they were going to have UFC 249. They were trying to find a venue, trying to make it work. And what Dana White is saying, that he got a call from some of our colleagues that probably don't pick up our phone calls because they're too important and influential at this company. But they told Mr. White that they're not going to be hosting UFC 249 under these circumstances. Now, he does still have an idea to create what he calls Fight Island. Now, this is really interesting to me. Fight Island is a remote location, unbeknownst to us exactly in what ocean, but it's an island where everyone will be sequestered, everyone will be quarantined, everyone will be tested, and they will hold UFC fights. Do you think Fight Island will actually happen?
I think when that press conference between Floyd and Conor McGregor was happening, I was literally standing on the stage. I am Dana White. That's what people should start saying. There used to be a commercial for MJ, Be Like Mike. Here's why. From a professional standpoint, and somebody whose job and bottom line requires him to produce UFC fights, he did exactly what I would do. And that's exhaust every option to show my partners that I'm trying to put on this fight. I'm trying to rent islands. I'm trying to have stadiums, arenas. I'm trying to do whatever it takes to make sure that this is happening. I'm not canceling. So therefore, if I don't cancel, run me my bread. That's right. Don't pass go. Don't act like I couldn't fulfill the contractual obligation. I did everything I could to make sure that there was a fight, and you decided that you didn't want it to happen, not the other way around.
Jalen, see, you know what? Sometimes you really do take me behind the curtain of what's really going on, because I was watching this going, wow, this guy really just wants to entertain the people. He sees an opportunity with all live sports being gone, that he wants to be the only live sport running. This is really smart marketing from him. He's got a passion for his sport and wants to put on a show for his fans. But I think your theory makes a lot more sense, saying, I fulfilled my part of this contract, which is do everything I can to put on fights, and you told me not to, so I expect to be paid for my part of this contract. Jalen, sometimes you see right through it. And I appreciate that about you. Moving on, we have some very important news that matters. Jalen, maybe the NBA season shifting is just another one of the byproducts that we discussed, that this horrible pandemic has sort of the implications that echo to all aspects of life, like you wearing a do-rag without a haircut. Well, there's another tragedy. There is a surplus of chicken wings in North America. See, there's a yearly cycle when it comes to chicken wing production, chicken wing supply and demand, and they sell a lot during the Super Bowl, and they sell a lot during the month of March when people are at home eating wings and watching college basketball. Obviously, there is no college basketball to watch, so people are not at home eating wings. Now there's a surplus of chicken wing. Chicken wing prices are down across the board. Jalen, this is going to inspire you to make the largest batch of lemon pepper that you've ever made.
Absolutely. And the one thing about this chicken wing epidemic that's taking place is we learn from each other. That's what I love about this show. I learned a lot about your background. You learn a lot about my culture, and we crossbreed and we become a terrific show. One of the things that I paid attention to when this pandemic started to happen is that white folks eat more chicken wings than us.
You think so?
Yeah, I eat more chicken wings than
so.
We get the label and all of that, but trust me, I went into the supermarket, they was grabbing them like toilet.
No wings left.
I'm telling you, no wings left. I'm like, serious? Like, I thought I was gonna be able to stroll right in and get all of the wings that I wanted, and all I realized all of the white folks ate them all up.
You know why? Because we wake up earlier and get to the store when it opens. That's the difference.
And y'all got credit cards.
Open noon. We're out there at 7:30. We're open at 8.
Y'all got that curbside stuff where y'all order food online and people bring it to the cars. Yeah. We're not doing that. I need to put my hands on stuff. I need to look at stuff. I need to walk the aisles.
Well, I hope that you're wearing a mask and gloves while you walk the aisles, and take care of yourself, Jalen Rose. So we have another piece of information that's very important for you, Jalen. Tua Tagovailoa played football, and two doctors say that he's ready for training camp. Do you want to watch Tua Tagovailoa throw a football, Jalen Rose?
Absolutely.
That's something you're interested in? Do you think that he could be available? Is he going to be available at number 3 overall? Is he going to be wearing the blue and silver of the mighty Detroit Lions? Let's take a look at Tua. Just tell me what you feel when you watch the future franchise quarterback of the Detroit Lions play football.
So here's what I feel. A parade down Woodward Detroit. That's what I feel. Down Grand River in Detroit. That's what this video reminds me of. How that gentleman right there can be our franchise quarterback. And I love Matthew Stafford. He did his bid in Detroit. He put in his work. I need him to groom Tua this year.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to trade him to the Patriots because they need a quarterback. And then all of a sudden, Tua can now be our quarterback the next 10 or 12 years, like Matt Stafford has been the last decade. He deserves the opportunity to win a Super Bowl. So send him to a contender. We deserve to have a franchise quarterback. Only the Lions, Jacoby, could have a franchise quarterback sitting in front of them. And don't get me wrong, I love lockdown corners. Deion Sanders is my favorite player of all time. Don't ever get it twisted. And if we take the Ohio State corner, he's going to be a terrific all-pro player. I know. But he isn't a quarterback.
Mm-mm.
He's not a quarterback. And the Jacksonville Jaguars had an all-pro cornerback in Jalen, my namesake, Ramsey. And you know what they did? They stupidly traded him to the Rams, but they didn't have a franchise quarterback. We got a chance to get a franchise quarterback instead of a cornerback. We should do that. I don't understand this thinking. I've watched Eric Hipple, Gary Danielson, Eric Kramer, Dan Orlowski, Rodney Peete, who I both love those last two. And old Dante Culpepper, Scott Mitchell, who we gave a big deal to, the lefty out of Miami. Trust me, the best quarterbacks in the history of our franchise were in the 1950s, Bobby Lane and right now, Matthew Stafford. And they both went to the same high school. We have a chance to get Tua. I need to be in the room making this decision. Take the franchise quarterback.
Jalen, I don't want you in the room just in case they don't take Tua because you will tear that room up. That's the problem. Yeah. You will tear that room up.
Most important position in the game.
I fear for your mental health and the safety of those around you if they do not draft Tua Tagovailoa via a Zoom call or whatever they're going to do. Like, they're going to be on House Party on their phones drafting players in the NFL. They're going to be on House Party. They're going to be on Zoom. Someone's going to forget the password. Someone's connection's going to stop right in the middle of it. It's going to be a mess.
Can I give you?
All the people in the front office are old people, so they don't know how to use technology. It's going to be impossible. It's going to be impossible.
See real quick, this is going to happen with the draft.
Go ahead and roast your dog.
And I think it was Laramie Tunsil, who unfortunately, when he got drafted, people were leaking some old footage of him really doing the bong thing.
And he was on the mask before Ronnie Roan. Before Ronnie Roan, Laramie Tunsil already had a mask.
And you know who else was? Future. He had a song called Mask On, Mask Off.
Yep.
He was in front of the curve. But here's what's going to happen. There's going to be an NFL executive or a coach or somebody on their personnel. When you're doing a draft, there are also going to be people trying to hack. There's going to be somebody whose search history gets exposed. Mark my words.
I love it.
Somebody whose search history is going to get exposed. It's going to be like with the 6th pick in the NFL draft, and then all of a sudden, it's going to be a porn site.
Something. Or it's going to be like, there's definitely going to be like one NFL executive that doesn't know that it's video and audio. And he's going to have his shirt off and have like Coors Light in his hand. And he's not going to realize that it's on video too. I can't wait for the technological implications of this. Like, they don't have enough resources to send somebody to everybody's home to make sure that they have the technology in place. This is going to be such a mess. There's going to be people saying that they didn't mean to draft the person that they drafted. You know, the Lions are going to draft.
Doing a fantasy draft.
They're going to draft like a 3rd round offensive tackle in some technological glitch, and Jalen's going to lose his mind.
Right. At number 3, the Detroit Lions select Mr. Irrelevant. We're going to be like, really?
This is going to happen. It's going to happen. I can't wait. This draft is going to be so weird, and I'm going to watch every second of it too. Every single second. So, Jalen, it is now time for Soft Move or Boss Move. Jalen, Tom Brady rarely makes a misstep. You know, like, Tom Brady's got a great public persona. You know, a supermodel wife. He's a dad. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He wins championships. Seems like every season he's in the contention. Well, Tom Brady this time might have made a misstep. He tried to trademark Tampa Bay, Jalen. Tampa Bay. And Tampa Brady. Jalen, soft move or boss move, trademarking Tampa Bay.
This is a soft move by my fellow Michigan alum. And here's what this shows. He going to Tampa to make a legacy, clearly to show that he can win the big thing without Belichick, but he definitely about his bread. He definitely about his money. Hey, Tampa, there's 50 million reasons why Tom Brady there. Don't ever get it twisted. Guaranteed. That's why he's there. And you guys got a great receiving core in Godwin and Evans, who I took on my fantasy team each the last, say, handful of years, Mike Evans in particular. I took O.J. Howard last year. Jameis Winston, their head coach, don't throw to the tight end a lot. And so for Tom Brady, who had Gronk and loves to throw between the numbers, watch the numbers for their tight ends to spike, but Tom Brady. That's a soft move, trying to get anything money as it relates to the Buccaneers.
I don't mind, getting a patent on something and trademarking a saying or whatever, but Tampa Bay does not roll off the tongue. Like, I don't want to wear a shirt that says Tampa Bay. Like, it's just a soft move all around. And Brady, you know what? It shows you that he's about his money. You know what this shows me? That he needs like a best friend. You know what I mean? Like, he needs someone in his life that's going to tell him, like, yo, that's corny. Tampa Bay is super corny. Like, he needs a best friend. Like, just like you need someone in your life to tell you can't go on this show with a do-rag with gold chains on it.
What about this? And my bat.
And a bat. The judge robe. Maybe that should be me. Maybe this is on me.
Well,
Maybe this is all my fault.
Color. And then from the Chappelle show, I'm inspired.
Well, there is some actual football news that's outside of Tom Brady trying to get some corny trademark, and that is Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, great receiver, always seems to get traded by his team. Now he is on the Texans. He's been traded by the Saints, the Patriots, and the Rams. Jalen, why is Brandon Cooks, who is pretty productive everywhere he goes, always on the trading block?
Bill O'Brien is digging a hole deeper. And not that Brandon Cooks hasn't been a productive football player, in particular in New England when he first got to the Rams. And also Kenny Stills can blow the top off of a defense. But both of those guys have something in common, Jacoby. They don't play 16 games. Both of those guys stay injured. And so you lose Hopkins, and I've heard a lot of people assess what they felt about him. Let me just tell you what Jalen feels about DeAndre Hopkins. He's one of the best 12 football players in the NFL, one of the best 11 football players in the NFL. On one side, if you were going to line up a receiver, it would be Julio Jones. On the other side, it will be Hopkins. Those are your all-pros, those 11 guys. And for you to trade him, when you have a guy like Deshaun Watson as your quarterback, a star, and they had some of the best chemistry all time between quarterback and receiver, there's no getting past this. And if I'm Deshaun, of course, I'm going to show up and do my job when this ends. But Bill O'Brien should be on the hot seat for sure.
Oh, Bill O'Brien is already on the hot seat. And one thing about the DeAndre Hopkins trade is I understand sometimes you have to trade a player. If they're unhappy, if you feel like ultimately their presence in the locker room is going to be detrimental to the team, and you feel like you just have to move that player, even though they're very valuable, even though they're great at their job and they're very productive, it's just not a fit, this team and this player. I understand that. But you could have got back so much more for DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not mad that you traded him. I understand sometimes you have to do that. I'm just mad at the deal that you got back for one of, as you say, the 2 or 3 best receivers in the league. I do not think that Bill O'Brien will be coaching this team for this entire season.
Shout out to Michael Thomas, who deserved to be in that conversation as well.
Good point. Good point. Well, gentleman by the name of Urban Magic Johnson. Are you familiar with Mr. Magic Johnson?
My childhood idol, and shout out to Tyreek Hill. No doubt about it.
Magic had this to say about LeBron talking about the games without the fans. Here's what Magic had to say. He said the following.
LeBron is right. I mean, it's hard to play without fans. I mean, But I think that once you have one game without fans, say the NBA comes back without fans, once you play one game, you adjust to not having fans there. But I think that also, too, we've all played our whole life on the playgrounds and pickup games without fans being there. So basketball players will know how to adjust, trust me. And I think also, too, those guys want to see who's the world champion.
What do you think about his thoughts on NBA players easily adjusting to a game without fans?
The Hall of Fame mogul. And here's something I want to bring people behind the curtain on, in particular in the NBA and the NFL. Without fans, remember I told you this, David Jacoby. Remember,
you stole it from me, Mr. Rose. You stole it from me. You stole this one from me. So don't try to say, remember I told you.
You don't even know what I'm going to say.
I know exactly what you're going to say. I know exactly what you're going to say.
For you.
Because I first brought up the games without fans, you're going to hear it on the microphones, on the hoops, that you're going to pick up all the trash talk from the players, all the yelling from the coaches, all the sneaker squeaking, and it's actually going to be like a more immersive experience. You actually be closer to the game when you watch a broadcast without fans. That is what I said, and you stole it. It's yours.
You can take your victory lap another time. That is not what I was going to say.
No, you're changing it now. You were definitely going to say
what I was going to say is the game is going to be more physical than ever. In the NBA and NFL, because of what you just said, because we can now hear. Remember, NBA players are famous for talking to each other and doing this, right? How many times have you seen this?
All the time.
NBA players talking to one another. When that is happening, that's because they don't want you to read their lips, clearly, and it's because they're saying something that they don't want repeated or read. Now, without the fans and cameras everywhere, the game is going to be dramatically different, especially in the NBA and the NFL. The games are going to be more physical. They're going to be more tense because the trash that you talk to me, it's one thing for me and everybody else on the floor to hear it. It's another thing for the whole world to hear it. And that's what's going to happen. And so now guys going across the middle in the NFL and a D-back puts a lick on a tight end, or a linebacker sacks the quarterback, you're going to now hear that. And it's going to make it personal. And the game won't be as buddy-buddy. This is something that I'm going to like.
I'm going to like it too. Because another thing is, I want to hear the coaches yelling. You know, the coaches yell the entire time, but we just can't hear it. Like, you'll hear Phil Jackson's whistle every once in a while. But outside of that, you don't really hear coaches calling plays or getting on players. You're going to hear all that. You don't hear defensively players getting on each other. You know, you'll be able to understand sort of the dynamics of a team, the leadership qualities of different players. I think this is oddly going to bring us closer to NBA basketball than further from NBA basketball. Obviously, the fan experience won't be the same. If you've ever been to a live NBA game, there's something irreplaceable about that experience. But the majority of the people are not in the arena. The majority of the people are like you and I at home, an adult beverage in their hand, watching some NBA basketball. And that, I think, might translate into a better experience. I want the NBA to come back as soon as possible. I don't know. What, do I have to come up with a test? Do I have to come up with a vaccine? we got to mix some Robitussin. Mix some Robitussin with some ginger ale. Put some cayenne pepper in there.
Got this.
I'm gonna start.
Apple cider ginger.
Apple cider ginger.
Lemon.
Little Vernors. Little Robitussin. Little vitamin C. Some emergency powder in there. I'm gonna come up with a vaccine.
And ginger.
You know what? There's a hospital like 3 blocks from here. I'm gonna make a concoction and say, "Here you go, guys. You're welcome very much. I just solved the coronavirus." All right, moving on. Jalen, big shout to our friends and colleagues, Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. They have a show called All the Smoke, distributed by Showtime. Chloe, I'm doing a show right now. Do you mind coming back later? Thank you very much. That is my 4-year-old
Hi,
dog.
Chloe.
And on All the Smoke, they had a guest by the name of J.R. Ryder. We all know J.R. Ryder. And J.R. Ryder said,
I'm a straight rider.
J.R. Ryder said that when he joined the Lakers, you forget that he was on the Lakers there at the end during the Kobe and Shaq era. He said, well, he might have been kidding, might have been telling the truth, might have been sort of exaggerating, but he said that Shaquille O'Neal offered him $10,000 to fight Kobe Bryant. Jalen, do you believe this story?
I do believe this story, and Shaq has acknowledged that he was really immature and jealous of Penny, as well as Kobe. And even though he's an all-time great player, that level of sensitivity, I believe, cost him all-time level greatness in being a part of a conversation that he deserves, because Had he handled those relationships different, I believe he was on a trek to win as many championships as Michael Jordan. For J.R. Rider, I've told you this multiple times. Ask anybody from Detroit, Atlanta, and the Bay Area, people that live there, represent there, those are our cousins. And J.R. Rider falls into that category. We used to break bread while we was in the league. I remember he went through his legs in a dunk contest, the Bay Area Funk, and he's always kept it 100. And that year that he played with the Lakers, he also got caught up with multiple burnout cell phones. And I can't front. I was trying to get one of those phones. And when I saw that story, I was like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have these burnout phones. For those that don't know, a burnout phone means you basically pay $200 for it. You use it for up to 30 days. The number and the phone just happens to go away until it's get reset. So shout to my dog, J.R. Rider.
Big shout to J.R. Rider. Jalen, we are all in our homes just watching TV and Tiger King over and over again, and we will soon have The Last Dance upon us. It debuts on April 19th. So every day we will have Jalen Jacoby's The Last Dance Countdown. Jalen, we only have so much time left in the show, and I know you could talk about this for hours and hours, but briefly, today I would like you to reflect on the Bulls' defense as a team, and specifically Michael Jeffrey Jordan's defense, something that is overlooked in his legacy. He has many Defensive Player of the Year awards.
So this is crazy because I believe the Jordan Bulls teams that you guys are going to see on April 19th, that second three-peat, that squad is the best defensive team of all time. Of all time. They embodied positionless basketball. They were one of the first teams that downplayed the role of a center if he couldn't score and get buckets. Yeah, they had Will Perdue and Bill Cartwright, and those guys played quality minutes, Stacey King.
Longley.
But they weren't featured. They were only out there if the other team had another big that was going to score the ball. Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal. And so other than that, they would take that center out of the game and he wouldn't finish. And so they embodied having multiple people up front that could switch everything. Just think about this.
That's a good point, Jalen. People don't really point this out about that particular team, but they were sort of a modern basketball team defensively.
No question about it. You had Scottie Pippen, all defensive player, multiple years, a top 50 player of all time. Dennis Rodman, defensive player of the year multiple times, one of the greatest players of all time. And you know the possession isn't over unless you get a turnover steal or clear the backboard. And Dennis Rodman will clear that backboard as well. When you got those guys up front and you got Michael Jordan, you just talked about his accolades. We know his greatness. And somebody that gets slept on by history, Ron Harper. Ron Harper was 6'6". And before he got hurt, he was on a trek like a lot of players to be the next MJ. For those that didn't get a chance to see him play in Cleveland before he hurt his injury, before he hurt his knee. So now you have those dudes that just switch everything. And it was crazy. Scottie Pippen could guard multiple positions. MJ guard multiple positions. Rodman, like you see with Draymond Green today, could guard a 5. And then you throw the waiter, Tony Kukoc, out there with them, who was 6'10", and you hear his nickname, could shoot the 3, was multi-versatile. Like, that's the best 5 that will ever take the floor in the history of the NBA. The best 5.
Well, we could argue about that for hours, but our time here is up. We'll be back on Monday. Why is that, Jalen Rose?
We're not done. We're not done. We're not done.
Everyone stay safe, stay inside, wear your mask, wear your gloves, and make sure that you subscribe to the Jalen Jacoby podcast and follow the Jalen Jacoby accounts on Twitter and on Instagram. We will see you right here on Monday.